Today we're going to do our notes on dividing fractions. It's just on this one page. Yay! So if you notice at the very top, it says keep, change, flip. And I underlined the K and the C and the F because a lot of times you will hear me say KCF. Yes. So step one, when you are dividing fractions, the very first thing you want to do is keep the first fraction the same. Now, the only time you might change it is if it is a whole number. You want to make sure you put that whole number over 1. Or if it's a mixed number, same rules apply as multiplying. You would want to change it to an improper fraction. Okay, so if it's a whole number or a mixed number, you want to make sure it can be multiplied. So it needs to be written in a way that it can be multiplied. Okay, the second step, change the division sign to multiplication sign. Step 3 is the F. So K, C, F is for flip. Flip the second fraction, which is what we call the divisor. Then all I need to do is multiply the numerators and denominators, then simplify or reduce. Now, there's a vocabulary word that I wanted to let you know about because it is important that you understand why we are flipping that fraction. So when we flip a fraction, we are calling it the reciprocal. Reciprocals are when you have two numbers that have a product of 1. So see my example there? I have 2/3 times the reciprocal. When you flip it,
1/2.
It's going to equal 1. So 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 over 6 is 1. Okay, so reciprocals are two numbers that have a product of 1. So whenever you are flipping that second fraction, you're actually using its reciprocal. Okay, so you may hear me every now and then say reciprocal. That's not a word that's going to go away. You'll probably hear it more and more when you're in middle school. Okay, so I just wanted to introduce you to it. But right now we're just kind of baby stepping into dividing fractions. So I have 3 examples here. The first one is 2/3 divided by 1/2. So I put KCF down here for you. So we're going to keep the first fraction, 2/3, the same. I'm going to change division to multiply. And then I'm going to flip 1/2 to what? 2 over 1. And then you just multiply. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then 3 times 1 is 3. Because it's improper, I need to change it. What will it change to? 1 1/3. So that's my final answer.
That's weird. It got bigger.
It is weird.
What? No,
that's weird because usually when you're dividing, it gets smaller,
it's
right?
basically times
Right.
2.
So think about this for a second.
That's weird.
Whenever you're multiplying regular fractions, right? Like if I have 2/3 and I am going to multiply by 1/2. I'm multiplying by a number that is less than 1. My number's shrinking, right? It's getting smaller. But whenever you multiply by the reciprocal, you're flipping it around. So I had 1/2, now it's 2 wholes. So I have 2/3 times 2 wholes, so it got bigger. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's look at the next one. I have a whole number this time.
So we
This
had
time I've got a whole number, so I'm going to add 1 underneath the 8. I have to put it into a fraction form that can be multiplied. Then I'm going to change divide to multiply. And then I'm going to flip the fraction 3 over 4 so that it is 4 over 3. Again, it's more than 1. 4/3 is improper. So my answer is probably going to be
32/3.
maybe bigger.
It's 32/3.
It's definitely bigger.
Okay, so when I multiply straight across, 8 times 4 is 32, 1 times 3 is 3, and then when I change it back to a mixed number, it's 10 2/3.
Bigger. So no matter how you divide it, it's going to be bigger. Basically, multiply. Why do they call it divide?
First one, like, and don't change it.
You don't ever, the only time you okay, we had a good question. So Darcy asked, do you always not change the first one? Correct. But I did make a disclaimer and I said, but you might have to get it into fraction form, like a fraction that you can multiply. So we did have to kind of change the 8 because we had to make it into fraction form by putting it over 1. But if you did it in the original problem, you would do this. And so it's just going to stay the same. Okay. Now, if we look at our last example here, I've got to make sure that I change this mixed number to a number that can be multiplied. And I do that backwards C method. So 8 times 3 is 24, plus 5 is 29/8. Okay, so this improper fraction is what I'm going to keep the same. So 29/8 times 2/1. I heard somebody say good.
58/8.
Yep. So 58/8 is what I end up with. But it's improper, so I've got to...
7 and 2. 7 and 2 and 8.
You guys are getting... Ooh. Okay, hold on. Pause. Okay, so 8 goes into 58 7 whole times. I know because it's 56. 7 times 8 is 56. So if I subtract 56 from 58, I have 2 left over out of 8. So Woogie told me it should be
1/4.
7 1/4.
Am I the only one clapping?
We spent all week and part of last week multiplying fractions because you have to know how to multiply fractions in order to divide fractions. Okay? All right, you have a digital practice today in Google Classroom.
Yeah, can we do it?